point of this video is that it's not enough to be black. Everybody black, except Europeans. We need to unite on more than just blackness. So I'm calling the diaspora of the African continental diaspora, and I'm calling the transatlantic slave diaspora to unite, to come together as Pan-Africans. Doing another video today. Now look, today I'm going to talk about blackness. What does it mean to be black? And I kind of want to do another disambiguation on blackness, because you have some people who are Negro only, black only, right? And then you have other people who fit the identity of black, but they don't identify as black. So and then you have other groups. Then you have labels and terms that I want to deal with, like Black Hebrew Israelites. And then you got Hebrew Israelites who don't even like the term Black Hebrew Israelites, don't even identify as Black Hebrew Israelites, but they being labeled with this term, right? So I want to create some clarity around blackness as an identity. First off, like Kendrick Lamar said, I'm an Israelite. Don't call me black no more. That word is only a color. These ain't facts no more. So I want to really emphasize that blackness is simply a skin color. Melanin. You got a lot of people that worship melanin and think melanin is the center of all things, and melanated people are whatever, fill in the blank. I want to bring a little clarity to that, because there can be a lot of confusion in blackness. Right. First off, according to my understanding of history and archaeology and migration patterns and the study of human people and culture, basically everybody is black. Everybody has a black version of themselves, except for white Europeans. Let me break this down. There's black Asian people. There's black Arabs. There's black Africans. There's black Mexicans. There's black Brazilians, black South Americans, all the way up in South Central and North America is black natives. There's black Indians, East Indians, Punjabi speaking East Indians are blacker, or as black, if not blacker, than a lot of black Africans. So what is blackness? What is melanin? Can we really identify, create an entire identity around being melanated? I don't think so, because you have all of these groups of people who also have melanated people within their identity, their racial group, right? So there is definitely something deeper than being black. Now, within all of these societies, I'm gonna absolutely give acknowledgement to the fact that blacks in all of these societies, in all of these racial nations that I just mentioned, blacks are always the lowest. Even in Africa, blacks are the lowest. And through colonization, Africans prefer Europeans and Asians over themselves. It's the same way here. Like, you know how you go to a restaurant in the US and the waiters take longer to serve you or to come to your table, but if a white person come in, somebody's right there ready to give them service, or the waitresses and the waiters are like reluctant to serve us because they think we don't tip, but they have no problem giving good service to other people, or they create some kind of situation where, like, you know, they always doing something because of some stereotype, but then when it comes to the other group of people, they treat them fair. It's the same way here in Africa. You can go into a restaurant and wait 10 minutes because they looking at you like, oh, it's he not gonna whatever, she not gonna, they not gonna whatever. But if a white person walk in there, they gon', when I tell you, they gonna worship the ground they walk on, give them the best service they ever had, make them feel like a 5-star treatment, you know, a VIP. That same dynamic is here too. I had a white man tell me at the workshop where I create jewelry and cut gems, he told me straight up, yeah, I can do more here in Tanzania than you can because I'm white and they trust me more. Because they trust me, I can do a lot more than you can. Tell me straight up. So that dynamic is here. And so what am I saying is that black people are at the bottom of every society, whether there's a mixed society like the United States where there's a bunch of different nations of people and black people at the bottom. It's the same thing in the Arab world. Everybody's Arabs. Everybody speak Arabic. But you know who at the top of the Arab world? The white Arabs, the Turkish ones, the ones who mixed with the Greeks from when Alexander the Great came in Alexandria and took over. So those that have the descendants of Europeans and those who have married into Europeans in the last, you know, generation or 2 or 3 that have connections with Germany and these other European nations, those are the ones that have the wealth. They're the ones that have the money. They're the ones that own the shops and the stores and the nice places in the mall. They're the ones that own the car lots. They're the ones that run the banks, right? Look at the Saudi Arabians. Look at the Dubai, like the people at the top, the royal families of Jordan and the royal families of Saudi Arabia and Dubai. These people are like the white version of Arabs. But go to Egypt, go to Oman, go to these Arab countries, to the poor areas. Go to the areas that not the big cities where there's all the money circulating. You're gonna find Arabs as black as me, right? Arabs been there the whole time, still got their Arabic name. You come here to Africa, you're gonna find black Arabs whose families go back as black as us, right? Same thing in Southeast Asia or in Asia. You know, you go to Bangladesh, you go to Indonesia, you go to a lot of these different countries, you're gonna find the white Asians at the top, and at the bottom, the lower socioeconomic status Asians. Where there's black people, they're gonna always be at the bottom, the absolute bottom. They cannot get jobs, they do not get favor. It's hard for them to reproduce because then through the media, what happens is they start to prefer the whiter version. The men prefer the lighter skinned women. It's the same thing in Egypt. And when I got to Egypt, there's this big campaign on bleaching your skin, and they literally would have billboards of like an Arab woman who's like a little tan color, a little brown skin color, and on the it's a before and the after will be her pasty white, and they value that. And then I heard like a lot of Arab men, they want white women, and they don't like the Egyptians that's the tanner or the more brown or olive, whatever. They like the ones that's more pasty and more white, right? So this same psychological imperialism is going on in all of the different countries and all of the races. So how is it that white people have become this thing to where, and then they themselves have created Europe to where in its purity, they there. And it's a place where they let very, very minimal people immigrate to. And you'll never be able to go into Europe and blackwash it the way they've been able to go into Arabia and into Asia and into you know, different countries and completely whitewash it by warfare, killing off people, raping the women, and or marrying to the women, and then all of a sudden the race of people that you took over through war are now a light-skinned to white, a pale group of people, to where when they originated, they were a darker, melanated group of people. This happens through imperialism, through white supremacy. They can't do that to all of Africa. But you can see the remnants of war through light-skinned black people. You can see it in the South, the Creole white people. There was one slave plantation where one slave master had thousands of mulatto babies. So the majority of the light-skinned people in the South that come from, that a lot of them, especially the ones that's connected to the Creole roots, a lot of them stem from one slave plantation, believe it or not. Do the history on it. Well, maybe one day I'll bring the history on it. Same thing here. You can see a lot of the Muslims here in Tanzania. If you know anything about how Islam spread, Islam went across North Africa first. So a lot of the Muslims here, you know, the light-skinned blacks that's here, they Muslims. Why? Because the white Arabs mixed through warfare. They killed the men and they enslaved the women and started to breed with the women. And a lot of the light-skinned people come from being mixed through Arabs. right? Even here in Tanzania. And that's what Swahili is. Swahili is really the language of the coast. And it's a mix of Arabic, African language, and Indian language because it's just a regional language. So when you think about the people that have come here to take over and rule and control the area, this is why these three languages are mixed up. So blackness is not an identity that we can all rally around. This is why we have something called tribalism. And some people try to act like tribalism is a problem. Tribalism is not a problem. What's a problem is trying to homogenize people's individual identities through blackness when there's so many different types of black people who have different ideologies, different philosophies, different identities, and different ethnicities. You cannot homogenize black people into one group because a black East Indian under no circumstances will align himself with the interests of a black American. Period. He's going to align himself with the interests of an East Indian. That's his priority. That's his loyalty. It's not to blackness. Same thing with Africans. When I got to Tanzania and customs asked me, why are you coming here? I say, because it's black people here, and where I'm from, black people get mistreated. And he's trying to tell me, oh, it's not about being black or being this and being that. You know, he's one of the officers, one of the customs officers. He's telling me, oh, don't talk like that. It's not about black or black. We treat everybody equal. And I'm like, well, you may treat everybody equal, but where I'm from, it's not equal. And for me, it is about being black because my experience as a black person over there is different than my experience as a black in a black country. So this is what I mean. Just because somebody black don't mean they identify with the same struggle you identify with. They don't mean they have the same philosophy, or they don't mean they Pan-African. Even if they actually continental African, they may be Eurocentric in ideology and philosophy, right? So, you know, and I guess I wanted to do separate videos on this, but for this video, I want to talk about the ambiguity of blackness. You can have black people who are Afrocentric. You can have black people who are Eurocentric. You can have black people who are Pan-Hellenic, and you can have black people who are Pan-African. So what is Pan-Hellenic? Well, anybody who went to a black or went to a college university in the United States, any black person, they know what that is. Anybody who pledged Greek, any alphas, any masons, any kappas, any omegas, any sigmas, any iotas, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Any AKAs, any deltas, any SG rows, y'all know what I'm talking about. These people are members of the National Pan-Hellenic Council. What does that mean? They a modern Greek person. So what is a Hellenist? Well, if you know anything about history, you had Jews, the Jew, not Jewish, you had Judean diaspora. You had black Jews who were dispersed. I just did a video about diaspora. And you had black Jews living in Greece. And what happened was these Jews lost, or not lost, but they began to adopt and to assimilate into Hellenic or Greek culture. And they lost their own identity. This began with John Hyrcanus, the high priest at the time of the nation of Israel, when he was going to war with the surrounding nations, and he allowed, he appreciated a lot of the aspects of Greek culture. And he started to adopt certain things about the culture of the foreigners that lived around us, right? So then we have Pan-Hellenic, people who have been trained, people who have been initiated into almost religious and secret rites of Greek thought and of Hellenic traditions and rituals, right? So these people are passing on and living with Greek, which is a white group of people with Greek ideals and Greek philosophies and way of living. And, you know, so which is completely different than the ideals of a Pan-African, right? So you got black people who Pan-Hellenic, you got black people who Pan-African, you got black people who are Afrocentric, you got black people who are Eurocentric. So blackness is not enough. We really need to identify what we believe, what philosophies we carry, what economic philosophy we believe, what religious affiliation we have, who's our God. Because every member of a Greek fraternity and sorority, there's a god, a Greek god attached to it. And then you got a lot of Pan-Africans who believe in the Egyptian pantheon. right? And there's different African gods attached to their ideologies. So, and I know for my people and a lot of my followers, we know, especially the descendants of slaves, we understand who we are, and we've been regaining our heritage, and we know who our God is, right? In our language, it's not an African or European identity or religion or God, but rather that of a Shemitic Hebraic background of one God under the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you know, and we understand that we the people of the book, and and we have our prophet that we follow. So then you got black Muslims who believe in Elijah Muhammad, and then you got Arab Muslims who believe in Muhammad, right? So it's just like blackness is not enough to identify around, to unite people. So this is why I say I'm an economic Pan-African, because I believe all of us, continental Africans, and now I'm talking to ethnic African descendants of slaves, and I'm talking to Pan-Africans, continental Africans who born from this land, because you have a lot of Arabs and Indians who have been here for 3 and 4 and 5 generations, and they want to consider themselves Africans. You have Dutch white people and Europeans who live here, and they want to be considered Africans too. But I'm sorry, I just don't. The same way how you have black Americans who really want to be accepted as African, and I'm like, yes, we helped build that land. I mean, as American, yes, we helped build UK, and yes, we helped build the United States. Yes, we contributed. We invented all of these things that place could not have been built without. But do you really expect the white supremacist system as it is to accept you as American, to give you equal rights, equal access, and equal ownership? No, it's a white supremacist imperialistic system. There's no way. I hope I made my point on blackness, man. But all right, Adrian, Expat signing off.